go. Hello and hello. It is summer. I get some water. I'll be back. Water for the brush. John Carter, welcome, sir. How are you? What I'd like to do is try and paint some of these guys up. I have this rag here because if I don't, there's a bad glare. Paint some fellers up before the storm hits and the power goes out. I think that storm's coming my way tomorrow night. So I fully expect power outage. I mean, it rains normally here and the power goes out. So I fully expect to lose power and flooding probably as well. So I'll have to relocate the car to higher ground. Fun stuff. I had considered leaving and even waited in line for gas and then changed my mind at the last minute and decided to stay. So that's what I'm doing. Also, yeah, I'm not too keen on painting live. I don't know what it is. It is, for some reason, I've come to associate painting with kind of a personal thing. I don't know how to explain it. I can concentrate more on what I'm doing. But I thought I'd go ahead and do this. I need to get these guys knocked out. These came with the Liaison box set. And actually a number of things came with that set, but I really need to get these guys done. And then I can just start playing the scenarios included in that set. Everything else is ready. I just did the French engineers a couple days ago. Everything else that I need and don't have, I can substitute. So for instance, I have a whole Hanoverian battalion that needs to be fielded, but I'll just use British line in lieu of that. And in the future, paint up some Hanoverians. But definitely need to get these up, so I'll shut up and start painting. Lots of black on these guys, too. And you see this little feller here. Lighting is poor. It won't focus. I mean, it wants to, but it just, I don't know what the hell. Anyway, his shako, his boots will need to be black. The gun strap here will need to be black. His primary pack will need to be black. His cartridge box will need to be black. Sword scabbard will need to be black. And what else? Any facings, shoulder, wings, straps will need to be black as well. So where normally I can just race through these and do black boots and black shako and move on, each one of these guys are going to take a while because of that with the black. I think I'll use my, let's use the sable hair brush. I may regret this, but the finest sable, Winsor & Newton, the Cadillac of brushes here. So I've been informed. I need black. What if I use black gray? Should I just use black? I should just use black. Although nothing is ever really black or ever really white. In fact, I found that, I wish somebody would have told me this, but white, off-white, no. Throw them in the trash. What you want is ivory. That is the most natural looking white that I've found, and it goes on smooth. That's what you want. I've got all my paints. Well, the other thing was in not doing live stream painting, I had everything set up in the kitchen, and I can't live stream from there. It was getting too hot and uncomfortable, so I finally broke down and drug all the paints and everything out here. So that's what I'm doing. And you can see a little bit. I'll try and bring the camera down for a second. Just some odds and ends that I got here. We've got a British limber, a French caisson. This is, of course, for artillery. And then an ambulance here, French flying ambulance. So that's what we've got there. We'll be painting those up at some point, just for flavor. I mean, I don't even know that they will serve a purpose within the game, but you know, a good 33% of miniatures playing consists of things looking like a diorama, or I should say building a diorama. And it really does go back to my youth. As you probably, if you watch me try to put together that liaison farm set, I sound like, I watched a little bit of that, and I sound like a 13-year-old kid again, which is embarrassing, but I really enjoyed fiddling with that thing. It brought me back. So what I normally do is have this, I've got this outlight here. I don't know if you can see it, this guy right here. And I look through that at what I'm painting, which is what I normally do, but there's a hell of a glare when I've tried that. This is what this rag is for, to cut down on this glare that would be here. We'll see how it goes. I'll see how well my eyes adjust to what I'm doing here. So far so good. All right, we'll start with the gun strap. And, you know, I can tell you what I'm doing as I do it, but I guarantee you it's either wrong or unorthodox. Everything I learned pretty much, painting-wise, I learned on my own. I didn't have anybody sit down with me and show me how to do things. This brush might be too small. This coverage isn't going on like I want. But of course, again, I sharpened my teeth on the Flames of War stuff with this painting business. So it's not like I'm starting from scratch, but this is my first stint with 28 millimeter, which started really in early June. I really got the ball rolling with this painting gig, and I'm up to about 500 figures painted now. And Von Holdinghausen, welcome, sir. Glad to have you. So I told myself I don't like doing this. I think I'm maybe in denial. Part of me probably enjoys doing it. It's definitely, I like the end result. But if I could wave a magic wand and have these things be painted and done, I'd be wearing that thing out, trust me. So I can make out what I'm doing here without zooming in so far. The lighting in here is horrible. I've got shadows. I'm doing the cartridge pouch right now. I just did the gun strap. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 16 of these guys I got to do, which is not bad. Don't know that I'll get them done during this session, but I'll get some major things knocked out that need to be done. All right, gun strap cartridge pouch. I should probably have these based as well. It's easier to hold them, I've found, if they're based on something, as opposed to just a little bitty metal stand they come with. Regarding Hurricane Ida, she was slated to be a 4 at one point. It could still be a 4. I think 5 is the highest. 4 is scary, trust me. When I heard it was going to be a 4 is when I decided I think I better get out of here. And I ran into a leaving dilemma within myself, and just kind of, here I am still. I ended up staying, so. But I also heard that it will probably now, for some reason, somehow, downgrade itself to a 3 when it reaches land shore. So that is good news. Not that a 3 is anything to sneeze at. I went through a 3 last year, which was my first real storm here in New Orleans with Zeta, and listening to that thing go over, of course, power went out. You could see transformers exploding. But as that thing's blowing and going over, it really did sound like the place was going to just blow apart. I fully expected the roof to fly off. And where I live is very, very old, this place. But it lasted through Katrina, so I guess it's built somewhat well. But yeah, this place is old. The windows aren't even all glass. Some of these windows in here are plexiglass. Go figure. Don't ask. I don't know. So we'll see what happens. If you guys never hear from me again, you'll know that I blew away in the storm, Mary Poppins style. I shouldn't joke about that, but I mean, what are you supposed to do? You can only take life so seriously. Although I am taking the storm seriously. I have stocked up on everything I need, so I can seal the pod bay door how and be good to go. Working on his boots, his Red Wing shoes. I don't think they're Nikes. We have your gun strap, boots, ammo box, or a cartridge box, scabbard. The other cool thing with these guys is as I primer them gray, half your work's done, because with the British at least, predominantly, these folks wear gray trousers. So you don't have to mess with that. Scabbard done. Now I got to get his two more things on this guy. We need his book bag where he keeps all his books. All the straps on here are black as well, as I mentioned, which is cool because if this was a British line or light unit, I would have to go back through and paint white straps on everything. I don't typically water down my paints. I probably should. This brush is having trouble getting into crevices here. Can you even see where I'm at? I'm off camera, sorry. Work of scale models, yeah. I used to build, when I was a young lad, I used to build, if I move it up here, it'll keep me from going off camera. Model tanks, model planes. My God, I had so many model planes, and I could not figure out how to get them to look like you see on the box. I had my trusty paintbrush and my Testors enamel paints, and it never happened for me. Go figure. Well, I found out later there's this fancy gadget called an airbrush. A friend of mine who I met in 5th grade had everything. Among the everything, an airbrush, and well, that dispelled that mystery for me. You need an airbrush. Never got an airbrush, but did discover a flat enamel spray paint, which helped. My God, I don't remember what all planes. I think I had the Thunderbirds performing group. That set of planes that I built. I love the F4U Corsair. I built more than one of those. Probably had a stealth fighter. I was fascinated by the Skunk Works stealth stuff that was going on with Lockheed at the time. I can't even remember. Messerschmitt, Focke-Wulf. I think I had an ME-109 Comet. All these things hanging from my ceiling. I'm spending way. See, that's the thing I was worried about. I'm talking, and I'm not paying attention. This book bag is taking way too much time. It's not a book bag, Jason. I know it's not. All right, let's try and water this paint down. Another thing everybody should know, and it's easier said than done, you don't want to get paint all the way up to the metal part of the brush. You just want to keep it on the mid to lower part. That's what I'm trying to do here. Just a happy little shako right here. Going along the rim. A nice little. You want to be assertive, but not too overly aggressive with your strokes. Follow through with your strokes. Underneath the bill of the hat is always a fun place. You want to do that before you paint the face, because inevitably you're going to get it all over the face. I think this guy's done with his black. Nope, he's not. I've got facings. See? You see what I told you? All right, let's do the wings. Shoulder wings. Everybody doing your shoulder wings? Let me know when you're done. Got it? Now we're going to move to cuffs, black. I may have to move to that light at some time, looking through it. It helps with small detail and it brightens it more. But I think it's going to shed a hell of a glare on this for you guys. Vaughn, looking great. Those paints should not be thinned, if you ask me. Yeah, but the problem with a lot of these paints is with the Flames of War stuff I painted 15 years ago, a lot of these paints are from that long ago. So where you probably would normally not need to, I have a number of old paints that I think benefit from the watering down. This black, for instance, I think is 15 years old. Some of these I unscrew the cap and the whole nozzle comes off. That's how old these are. All right, collars. I'm sorry. That's our cuffs. Now the collar. All right, there's a collar. These guys also have this weird. Collars aren't as hard as I thought. You can fudge them and then fix them with the hair and have the hair overlap the collar somewhat if you need to. So they don't have to be like perfect, exact. Also, our officer will have lace on the front of his jacket, which looks like, when I've seen it represented in models, it looks like just a flat mass of black on the guy. But that's because it's little black lines that are supposed to go across the chest. They're so small and close together at this scale from a distance, it just looks like a black mass. So they just paint it that way so it looks like a black. All right, so that's done. We got some straps. Oh, he's got a little powder horn there. How cute. Let's try and get these straps. This is going to be, if I lay them down, what these cords are hanging from this shako. What color are these? I'll have to look that up. Research drats. You guys hear me all right? Do I need to speak louder? You need to speak a little louder. I'm trying to get a hold of Dr. Hackenbush. Who's that? Hackenbush. Any Marx Brothers fans out there? I don't blame you. I wouldn't like him either if I didn't like him. No, that doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to. You got the black straps on your body. You got Probably just slopping this everywhere. I'm off camera again, for the love of Pete. Is that better? This cross strap, this strap, that strap. Know your straps. All right, I think this guy's good to go. I've also allowed myself to be a little less critical of my skills. Otherwise, you're never going to be, A, you're not going to want to paint, but B, you're never going to finish. You're going to stop. You'll never be happy with what you do. You have to realize that this stuff is it will never look like, unless you're a grand master painter, it's never going to look like the stuff on the box. But you have to find a standard that you're capable of doing and comfortable with and be able to live with it. All right, there's a healthy puddle of black. What are we going to do next? Let's do this guy. He's a great looking guy. Taking full aim. He looks great. The coolest sculpts as far as stances and postures and positions of figures that I've seen so far is those French engineers. Those were just, it was a joy to paint. They were so nice as far as the stances, and just great. Really looked good. Sable hair is doing all right. The other mistake I made recently in priming these, and you got to prime them. Some argue it's not necessary, but you need to prime them. So I have this kitchen table in the back patio area, and it gets leaves and crap on it. I used a dry floor mop to sweep it off. Don't do that, because all that does is leave fine cotton hair fibers all over the thing. And then when you primer these guys, those fine cotton hairs get all over the primer and stick, and you're stuck with like these weird cotton hairs sticking out of your volk. It's not fun. So I had to pick little cotton hair fibers off of these guys as if there isn't enough to contend with. Now see, there's another little, what is this little pouch? Is that black? There's another little pouch by his cartridge box. Maybe that's his cell phone. What color were cell phones in the Napoleonic era? I don't know. Underneath stuff is kind of iffy with me. Very rarely will you look at these guys upside down. But if you do, you're going to see some shortcuts. Certain things I will paint underneath, like his cartridge box, his backpack. Other things not so complete, I will just let them go. If I was super nuts, I say you don't have to paint these straps because they're black anyway. Well, if I was a nut job, I could paint them a different shade of black so they stand out a little from that which they're holding on. But I don't think I've reached that level yet. I have reached a level where when I started painting, it was a level that allowed me to finish fairly quickly. As I have improved somewhat, you start noticing things that need to be painted a certain way. So you have to take your time to do that. So my time that it takes to finish these guys is really slowed as I've gotten a little more detail oriented with what I'm doing. Not a bad thing, but just throwing that out there. Vaughn. As a kid, I never painted my models, built them to play with them, to put a firecracker in them. Oh my God, I did that. Yeah, I started out with a wet palette, and then I stopped using it. I'm not against it, but I started out with a wet palette. I just waste paint. It's easier. I used to do the, the little green plastic cheap army men. Oh my God. Every 4th of July was like a major, huge catastrophe, just battle. I mean, blowing up guys all over the place. It was great. That's all I did with my fireworks. I would go and specifically buy what I thought would work best on a miniature battlefield. Blew the hell out of them. Great fun. My grandpa would cut the grass oftentimes. Oftentimes I would have to do it, but when he did it, he'd always find like army men and crap. And he'd say, I'm running over army men, you gotta pick those up. And it don't matter, just run them over. I had forts I'd build in the woods. I mean, elaborate things. I found a giant creek bed that very rarely filled with water when it rained. So I used that as like a trench. Then I dug like a tunnel into the side of the inside of the hill of the stream and stored like ammo boxes in there. I had barbed wire that I unrolled in there, wooden pallets that I laid out on the creek bed for walking on. It was a hell of a thing. And I've told this story before, but is that black? I don't know. This utility worker was in the woods doing something. I don't know what. And he found this little fort area I had built. And he called the police. I mean, it was that elaborate. He said, I think there's an AWOL army guy living in the woods out here. So they come out and check it out. And they confiscated all my stuff. Like I said, I had ammo boxes, dummy hand grenades, anything and everything you would have. I mean, you go to Army surplus store as a kid, and it's like a candy store. I need this, I need that. And I had it all out there. Well, they thought it was a real dude living out there and confiscated all my stuff and started going around the neighborhood asking if they knew of or had seen anybody in the woods doing related things. And of course, when they got to my house, my mother says, that's my son. He plays out there. Well, if he wants his stuff, he's got to come to the police station and get it. Well, I was a kid and I was scared, so I never went to the police station and got it. I think they got like I had an old Bolo Spanish blade bayonet. I think they have that. All this cool stuff. And I didn't get any of it because I was scared of the police. I used to go to the recruiting stations and hang out. 13, 14, 15, like, as soon as you turn 18, we're going to sign you up. They give me posters, all kinds of cool stuff. And I was a nut job. God, the ways you have to hold these things to paint them is at best precarious. It's a real challenge. All right. Got his wings, his scabbard along the side there. It's another foible or fault of mine, like for instance with the scabbard, I paint it, but it's not fully painted. It's like just the flat part of it's painted. I need to get the sides. It's laziness. Cuffs, wings, straps, back. I don't know what that is. We're making progress. All right, Shaco. I saw some guy on his channel. He's got a 3D printer, and he 3D printed a Shaco as a dice roller and calls it a Shaco. Maybe it is a Shaco. Am I calling it wrong by saying Shaco? Which I thought was clever, because you shake the dice in it, Shaco, get it? Yeah. We get it, Jason. All right. Working on the Shaco for the cavalry. Bring in the cavalry. All right, Shaco. Underneath the hat bill, the light has a glare on it, right? So the glare makes it look like the same color it would be if it wasn't painted. So this gray color. So I keep going back over stuff I've already gone over because it looks gray, right? But it's actually the light reflecting off of the black, shiny, fresh black paint. The challenges continue. We good on you? No, under the bill. Put Edwina under the bill. All right, there's another filler. I think I'm missing something that should be black. It's his, like your waist belt in the front. It looks like there is something there. I'm going to assume it's black, but I'm neglecting to paint it black, which I will probably have to go back and do. I think the tips of these, bottom tips of these scabbards are, you can use brass or gold. Gold, I have found, looks a little better, goes on a little better than this brass color I have. We've got some thunder in the background. I thought thunder only happened when it was raining, and yet it's thundering. What else do we have? We have let's clean the brush a little before we go to the next guy. Ever try? Yeah, I see. I tried sticking the figures to something small using blue tack. Yeah, I need to do that. I don't. There's no reason I don't. It's easier. It's better. I've got these bases I can glue them on. They even help. But I don't make much sense. So that you won't have to grab all right. Time for a cognac. Jesus. Stick your fingers to cardboard whilst you paint them. Is that a turn, or is that a silliness? Is that a genuine tip or a silliness? You wouldn't be pulling my leg, would you, John? You wouldn't do that to me, would you? I'm a little older and slower now. Yesterday was my birthday, 48. So I'm a little older and slower now than I was a week ago, and not as quick on the catching these jokes. What a birthday it was. Went to work, of course, which is not the end of the world. Most people do have to work on their birthday. I'm cool with that. Off at 5, no problem. However, we have this little thing called a pandemic going on. And as such, certain rules have been created for library users for their safety, our safety, blah, blah, blah. Argue amongst yourselves. I'm not a win with that. Primarily regarding the mask. Now, you can choose not to be vaccinated and come into the library. You can choose never to get tested and come into the library. But you have to come into the library with a mask. All right, there's that. But what is more, you have to come into the library with your mask on properly. You can't have it hanging off your neck, off your arm, below your nose, right in your chin. So all day, every day, my job, and I'm not making this up, consists of, can you please put your mask over your nose, sir? Can you please pull your mask up, man? Can you please? These are adults that know full well they can't be in here without a mask. Can you please put your mask on, sir? I mean, like, why is it even off at all? I don't understand. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Or it's hot in here, or I can't breathe with this on. Okay, so there's that. Now, the majority of folks will comply happily and cooperate. 1 in, I'd say, 5 have a problem. Now, these are people that have a problem anyway and are probably only there because they have nothing better to do, and they have learned that if I come here and do this thing or not do this thing, it brings attention to me. I get no attention in my life. 2 and 2 together. Let's go to the library and get some attention. So yesterday, about 1:15, something like that. So you notice a gentleman who had already been asked, can you please cover your nose? So, I mean, there's another argument. How many times are you supposed to ask the same person, as a grown adult, to do this thing and, you know, and then not comply? So is it 3 times? Is it 2 times? Is it, I don't know anymore. So this guy's already been asked. I witnessed it. He's already been asked to cover his nose. So he comes over to the computers where the people can use public PCs. He is sitting there with his mask yet again below his nose. I don't make a big deal out of it. I say, sir, can you please cover your nose? And he looks at me, and he doesn't say anything, and he doesn't do anything, and I repeat myself, please, sir, can you please cover your nose? And I guess he'd had enough. And then it was, why y'all keep effing with me? I can't take it in here anymore. Blah, 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 blah. Losing his mind. I don't stand and argue. That's not my job to argue about a mask. I turn to walk the walk that takes me through the majority of the library into the lobby where the security guard is. We have 2 security guards at our branch, and I would argue that's not enough. Anyway, when I turn and start walking away, this guy jumps out of his seat and decides he's going to threaten me and says, I dare you to go get somebody, and adds all kinds of other expletives and colorful language, and I'm this and I'm that, and he starts walking closely behind me as I'm walking to the lobby and decides he's going to explain to me what he's going to do to me along the way. I don't bother to stop and turn around and respond. I just keep walking. There's some things I'm leaving out, but that's just how it goes. I must purposely leave them out. Anyway, I get to the security guard and I say, this guy's threatening me. It was going to be this guy won't wear his mask, but as he followed close behind, telling me all these creative things he was going to do to my body, I said, this guy's threatening me. No, I'm not. No, I ain't doing nothing. And I said, bullshit, and walked off. And then the security guard says, it's all right, we're going to ban him for a week. And I thought, wow, don't do me any favors. Ban this guy for a week so he can come back and remember me and continue where he left off. Because trust me, a lot of these folks come to the library, have nothing better to do than remember an incident or a person who has, in their eyes, wronged them or disrespected them in some way, because a lot of these folks have no self-esteem and an overabundance of ego. It's the nicest way I can put it. That would define this gentleman, and I use that term extremely loosely, to a T. All ego, no self-esteem. It's a shame. Anyway, he is escorted out. And I'm a little shaken. Typically, I can deal with this stuff fairly well. It happens more regularly than it should, but enough that I'm somewhat accustomed to it. And you could argue it's a shame that you would have to get accustomed to behavior like that in a place like the library. Nonetheless, I proceed to fill out an incident report describing what happened. We're encouraged not to repeat the language used against us, which I think is junk. God forbid the administration that would have to experience that which we on the floor have to experience and endure the hurtful words and language that we have to endure. No, we have to pretty it up and filter out anything that might be considered offensive, which is the entire freaking incident report. So I file that. Meanwhile, I'm playing this over again and again in my head, what has happened. I have trouble focusing on anything at hand. So I go back to my boss, second in command, because main boss isn't there. And I say, hey, I don't think I can be here anymore today. I'm kind of having an issue dealing with this. And I went home. That was my birthday. Once I got home, I proceeded to try to determine if I should leave my place of residence and go God knows where. And will I have a place to come back to when I return? So transition from weirdo patron to weather emergency / catastrophe. Realize I am low on gas, and one of the things you want to have during something like this is a full tank of gas. So my quest to find gas begins. First place I go to, we're out of gas. I get the universal symbol of the hand slashing the mid-region of the neck. Out of gas here. Next place I go to, out of gas here. Third place I go to, I notice a line which is promising, because if they were out of gas, they would have shooed these well-intentioned folks away. As they were not being shooed away, I deduced that this place must not be out of gas. So I wait in line, all the while just knowing that when I finally get up there for my turn, they will in fact be out of gas. You have to say it like that. So finally, I wait. Meanwhile, there's this fella who is, I don't know if he's drunk or just a little lopsided in the brain box, but he is and just getting a full enjoyment and entertainment out of these folks trying to get gas. And he's going up to each one of them saying, I don't know what, use your imagination. I don't know that he's asking for money, because he's laughing and carrying on and gesturing in wild manners. That was interesting. When I get up there, I thought, sure enough, this guy's going to come try and see what he can gain from encountering me, which I guess he decided it was a lost cause. He probably looked at me and thought, that person's not worth wasting my time, which is fine with me. I'm comfortable with that decision on his part. But when I finally got my turn, I was able to get gas, and that was cool, because you want a full tank of gas. So then I was like, all right, here I am, full tank of gas. At this point, I should probably go home, gather the essentials, which you think about this, but it's like, when you really need, when it comes down to it, I mean, well, everything is important, everything is essential, but you can't take everything. So I decided in my mind, okay, I'm going to leave all the games, I'm going to leave all the figures, I'm taking the cat, some clothes, and any important papers, like birth certificate, card title, a little black book which has an endless, infinite amount of passwords and logins and crap that you accumulate over a lifetime. and decide that's what I'll take. And now where do I go? Well, I'm from St. Louis. That's an option. Baton Rouge is an option. Trying to figure that out. And then trying to determine what I should do. It's getting later and later. And the mayor issues a statement saying, hey, it's too late now to issue a mandatory evacuation for logistical reasons, which is a safe way of admitting that she should have called for an evacuation but didn't. Her phrasing was such, it's too late now for a mass evacuation because of, I don't remember the word she used, but basically because of logistics things. We would all be just sitting jam-packed on the highways, and maybe that's true, and to what extent, whatever. But she covered her butt, and so now that when we say, hey, you should have told people to evacuate, she can say, well, it happened so fast, we didn't have time to put in place an evacuation plan that would be conducive to the flow of traffic. I'm just going off the top of my head here, what she'll probably say. And, I voted for this person, and I won't get into it, but I wish I could get my vote back based on her tenure in office. But she's pro-library. Okay, I'll vote for her. Well, that's not a reason to vote for somebody, y'all. Let's see, what else? How's that cognac, Vaughn? Figures. Stick your figures to. We already talked about this. All right. So here I sit today. It is it was sunny and clear and calm out. Now we're getting a little bit of clouds. The major stuff isn't supposed to roll in until tomorrow afternoon, early evening. So I can remain confident in that I will probably have electricity at least until tomorrow evening, and then I guarantee it's going to go. There's very few certainties in life. That's one of them. And luckily, it's not 1,000 degrees here right now. It's hot. We just went through a heat wave, but it's not anything horrible going on right now. So if I can't run the air, that's okay. I don't generally have a fridge full of 1,000 things that's going to go bad, so that's fine. Either today or tomorrow, there's a Whole Foods next to me. It's a bit of a stone's throw, but you could throw it if you were like really good at throwing stones. And I think I can park. I've done this before. Park on they've got like this tiered parking in the back, kind of a quasi rooftop parking. Well, the water will never reach that height, so that's probably where I'll stick the car, because I fully expect flooding. I don't expect the water to reach the house I live in. The house is raised. Most of these houses in New Orleans are raised above ground, of varying heights, but most are raised. I wouldn't recommend getting one that sits directly on the ground. All right. I'm hearing a little bit of rain out there. Nothing bad. 3 down and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13 to go. And this is just the black, right? So we still have to do, after the black, we have the wood color, anything metallic. The wood color will also incorporate hair. Now here's an interesting trivia piece for you, right? Every figure I own, all 500 of them, have brown hair. Nobody has black hair. Nobody has blonde hair. They all have brown hair. Expedites my ability to paint. I do the brown stock on the rifle, on the musket, and I do the hair brown, boom, done. Then I'll have the flesh color. Always fun to put the flesh color on because it really brings them to life. These little fellers. Need some new black because that dried up. What else? Anything metallic, right? And then like a different color green than their jacket for the stuff on the shako. Again, we've got like these tassels and hangy tidbit pieces. Did I get your collar? No. Forgot his collar. Where's your collar? Again, I would argue that some of the detail that people put on these things is really for their own peace of mind. And when you're looking at them on the table, you can't even see 50% of the detail you put on here. Still, I'm doing the color here. All right, so there's that. Got the chat going. You guys want to breach a topic or change the subject or ask me something? I encourage you to do so. I will respond in kind. Let me know what you feel like talking about, what you want to hear. I have a couple more library stories if you're interested, along the same lines. And we can glean entertainment from them, but trust me, as they're happening, they're less than entertaining. They have to deal with this stuff that goes on at that place. Boggles the mind when you consider you're dealing with, well, at least on paper, functioning adults that can act the way they do and do some of the things they do. You just wouldn't have thunk it if it didn't happen. How about reenactments? Any of you guys been to any reenactments ever recently? Well, probably not recently because the disease. I can't get the disease because I've done been vacillated. That's a quote from somebody that didn't know any better. I assume vaccinated is what vacillated means. Or I've heard there's no such thing as, okay, I'll shut up. Then it gets political, right? Reenactments. I'll go first. Here we go. As a kid, growing up in Missouri near St. Louis, there's this place called Jefferson Barracks. And Wardrobe, if you watch this, you'll know what I'm talking about. But they used to at least do reenactments, and they did a pretty nifty Civil War reenactment there, and then they had full encampment, so you could see what camp life was like. That was very cool. And then, of course, they do the skirmish battle with some cavalry, some artillery. Very cool stuff. They had, I saw a World War II reenactment there with a small squad of Americans and a half-track truck thing, trying to flush out some Germans and a machine gun in a old 40s looking stone building, which was cool. Don't get me wrong, y'all, I still have a fondness for the World War II stuff, but having done it, played with it, etc., most of my life, I guess it's inevitable you burn out on it. I don't know when I'll come back to it. But The Napoleonic bug has bitten me about as hard as you can get bit. It has really taken hold, as you can see. I don't know what I just painted there. I think I just made it up. I think I just invented some straps on him. As long as that area has some black in it, I think we're good. It's like a cross, that X cross belt looking thing. I would love to see, oh man, I would have loved to have seen that Waterloo reenactment, that 200th anniversary Waterloo reenactment that took place in, I think, what was it, like 2015 in Belgium. Probably would have lost my mind. That would have been very cool. Try and ask myself what it is about Napoleonic stuff that I like, that I'm not going to say is better, but that you don't get in World War II stuff. And the best I can come up with is, there's the obvious. The uniforms are lavish and colorful and extravagant, of such grand variety. But there's a kind of, it's been long enough now, time-wise, linear speaking. There's a kind of old mystique that is cropped up, at least for me, with this Napoleonic stuff. It's old enough now. There's almost like a myth or a mythos that goes along with it. It's hard to explain. World War II was still, for me, relatively recent enough. It doesn't have like this old mysterious thing attached to it. And I'm speaking for me now. It still just seems fairly recent in my mind. I don't know why that is. I think once you get like the machine gun, things change, obviously, but style of warfare changes. That one little invention, the machine gun, it changed so much. Or maybe that's what it is. It's, pre-machine gun era stuff still has a certain kind of battle style that is inherent within the fight that you don't get anymore, obviously, post-machine gun. You can argue, I would say you can still have this like a heroic man versus man fight, which I understand you had that in World War II as well, but I think that's the exception rather than the rule. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just riffing, free associating off the top of my head. This is not stuff that you need to footnote and put in your research paper. Again, I'm just trying to figure out what the appeal, for me at least, is of this stuff. I don't know. It's old enough that it's almost like alien. It's almost like foreign. World War II seems too familiar. There's still equipment in this Napoleonic stuff that I'm learning that it's like, wow, I didn't know that existed, or had no idea that's what that was or what that was for. There's that too. There's still a kind of new innocence for me with this stuff, with learning things. And it's not like I just discovered the Napoleonic era, but as far as gaming it with miniatures, it definitely has a kind of the novelty has yet to wear off. Okay, I'm sure it will eventually, but it has yet to do so. Here's another confession. When I was 16 and could finally drive, one of the things that I benefited from was driving myself 40 miles to the inner city to certain game stores. One of them, they were still hanging around when I was able to drive. They hadn't gone to hell yet. They were still there. But there was one in particular, and this was an independent store. This guy had the hardcore stuff, right? He had the ASL, the this, the that you couldn't find at like a toy store or bookstore. Although they had some of that stuff. This guy had the stuff. This is where you wanted to go, right? He had the stuff. But he had on the wall and little individual plastic packs, figures. And one day I was in there and I noticed all these Napoleonic figures. And I thought, well, hell, I'll give that a shot. And I bought a few packs of them, and I don't remember what scale they were. I think they were like, if they weren't 15, they were smaller. They're probably 15, somewhere around there, 15 millimeter. And I painted those up. I had no idea what I was doing. Paint them, set them up. I think the paint jobs consisted of, if they were French, they were blue. I did their faces and hands and maybe the two cross belts. That was it, right? Maybe brown for the musket. And then my friend, right, that one guy who had the airbrush, that guy, right. I brought him some because he couldn't go drive himself. Oh, he had stricter parents, right, and he always had to do stuff. So I bought some guys for him on the off chance he might get interested and we could have a battle. And he did, and oh my God. He comes to school one day with some of these guys painted up, and I was like, who painted those for you? Like, I did it. I was like, holy crap, how do you do that? Mine then just looked like, a newfound piece of crap after showing me his. I was like, Jesus, man, how would it take you to do that? He was always like that. Things like that, he always did it just a little bit better. One of those guys that he had, hey, Rob, welcome, sir. Listen to me carry on and on and on and on, ... Glad to have you. He's one of those kids that him and his dad was still a kid, so his dad still had toys. And Jimmy, if you ever listen to this, I miss you, dude. Well, that's who I'm talking about, Jimmy. His dad had dragsters, the long, Big Daddy Don Garlett's rail type dragsters that they would race. I mean, they had everything. They had remote control airplanes, not the you fly with the line attached. This was legitimate remote control stuff. And where they would fly was close enough to where I live. I would hear them. It sounded like lawnmowers going through the sky. And I would run across the field and meet them. And every so often, Jimmy and his dad would let me fly. They called it the old timer. The old timer was this big old remote control airplane. It flew very slowly, so it was easy to control, very hard to wreck. And they had a buddy box, so I was flying it, but if I did something crazy enough to hit and looked like I was going to take a nosedive, they could take over and prevent that. Always wanted to get into that, never did. I never got into the remote control airplane thing, but really get a kick out of watching it. He's also a guy that was somewhat of a daredevil. When we got together, he always had to do things a little more extreme. Where he lived in his neighborhood, there was a giant, long, at least for us kids, it seemed, a long, giant hill that was comprised his street. And it went for quite a ways. And when it snowed or iced, it was time to get the sleds out and go down that thing, which was not a good idea because this is a neighborhood with house after house after house. I mean, pretty constant traffic. But we did it anyway. And one day, he decides he's going to go do this. And I think it was trash day. So you got the trash truck coming. And sure enough, there's a trash truck and it's ice, so you can't stop. So what my friend Jimmy does is he goes under it. You can imagine the faces of these guys pulling the trash as the sled comes shooting out underneath the trash truck. And that was Jimmy. Yeah, that was him. Roller skating every Friday night, and he always had to go the fastest, which meant he would always crash more often than everybody else. Get yelled at, slow down. Straps. I tell myself it's okay to remember the past, but the danger is in trying to relive the past. You had your time, you gotta live in the now. That. I had a pretty good childhood, I think, all in all. I mean, nobody has a perfect childhood, some worse than others, but I would argue it was pretty good. My parents drove a truck, a big 18-wheeler truck. Long haul loads, Missouri to California, etc. Things like that. So I spent a lot of time there for a number of years on my own. Babysitters, of course, but you learn how to entertain yourself, right? And this may be where some of this hobby stuff comes from. Things I picked up as a kid growing up by way of entertaining myself. I remember one place I stayed at, and I don't know why this stands out, but I remember because it seems like forever ago, but times have changed. On her wall was a big Dio poster. It was the one with the demon swinging the chain around, and I remember as a kid thinking, my God, that thing is both scary and cool as hell. Nowadays, you would have like Rap Guy of the Week on the poster, the Teenage Daughter's wall, right? But back then, that's how it was, man. Cool stuff. Or Iron Maiden. I had all those Iron Maiden posters growing up with Eddie. I had him in the cockpit of a Messerschmitt. I had that one. I had him carrying the rebel flag. That one. Nowadays, that'd be considered racist, I guess. What else? Might have been one or two others. It was that stupid, awful Sylvester Stallone movie where he was like a tough guy, car driving guy, and he always had a match that he kept in his mouth. You guys remember that? I had a poster of that on my wall when I was able to move into the basement, which was the coolest thing. The basement sucked. It was like a half basement cut out from like a fruit cellar type thing, but my brother lived in the basement where he lived, so dagburn it, I wanted to live in the basement where I lived. And I moved down there, and I had that on the basement door. I can't remember the name of it. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's like a one-word title. Terrible movie. But I thought it was cool. God, awful movie, though. Crap movies I saw as a kid. I thought Rambo was awesome. What was all the Jesus, I forgot his name. Walker, Texas Ranger dude. Chuck Norris. What were all those Vietnam movies he made? I thought those were fantastic. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Commando. Couldn't get enough of that crap. And as I got older, I realized it was crap. But when I started learning how to appreciate some decent movies, I saw Full Metal Jacket, Stanley Kubrick, and Platoon with Oliver Stone's movie there. The Deer Hunter. These are different types of movies, admittedly. They don't necessarily glorify war like you would see in Rambo, etc. But really enjoyed those. And I've already said, and this is, you can hold it against me if you will, but after seeing those movies, I thought maybe I don't want to join the military. Born on the 4th of July, that was another one. I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't want to end up like that. I'll pass. If you haven't seen Born on the 4th of July, my God, that's brutal. What that guy goes through. And it's based on a true story, Ron Kovic. Thin Red Line, more recent, but that's a good war movie. Again, it's of a certain ilk. It definitely doesn't glorify battle, but it's still a good movie. I think that one criticizes duty and command and orders in favor of like individual responsibility, which is a complete conundrum for the military. You can't have that. Have a functioning army and have individually thinking soldiers making their own decisions. Otherwise, your army collapses. But again, tell me to change the subject or give me something else to talk about. I'm just riffing here. Let's see, Edge Hill when I was 7, huge battle. There's some great videos of that Waterloo battle on YouTube. Yeah, there is, yeah. Of that reenactment thing. The glory and the folly for Napoleonic. It's like watching something beautiful charging off a cliff. Pre-machine gun, you could still definitely stand within sight of the enemy. After machine gun, it's ground hugging. Yeah, and it was, and to go back to that, right? You could argue it had already started to change a bit with the introduction of the rifle. Okay, so especially with the British and their use of rifles, it was starting to change the game as far as being able to knock somebody out from a distance, but not in such mass quantity, obviously, as a machine gun. And another thing you have to remember with a rifle is it takes longer to load than a musket, just your basic crap musket, right? So although they were effective at range, you really were challenged to load them quick enough to be effective. There's ways around that, right? I think skirmishing, at least, they skirmished in pairs, British. So one could always fire while the other reloaded. Where did I get this from? Did I make this up? I don't think I made that up. That sound right? Judge's ruling. Am I forgetting gun straps? Yes. Not the end of the world. We go back. Let's revisit. I haven't eaten yet today, so I'm probably a little delirious. I was hoping on every weekend I eat at this Indian place. I'm a bit autistic like that with the routine. But my God, it's so good. There's a reason. It's good. And I was hoping on the off chance they would be open today, but for their sake, they shouldn't be. They should be preparing for the coming storm. But on the off chance they are open, they open at 11:30. It's now noon. So I could check that and see if I can get my Indian fix. But, bless them. I wouldn't blame them if they were closed. They should be, again, for their sake. I'm going back and hitting these rifle straps. I forgot. I'm up to 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th feller. What about crap TV shows as a kid that you were subjected to or unwittingly subjected yourself to? Andy Griffith. How many of those damn shows did I sit through? As soon as I heard that whistling as the show started, I'm tearing through the room so I could watch it. The original Battlestar Galactica, I thought that thing was amazing, dude. When that came out. Buck Rogers in the 20th century. Let's see. Franco-Prussian is such a weird transition war. You could argue the Crimean War was transitional war as well. Let's see. Forgot his shot go. Let's go back. Pay attention. I don't know what that is. What's Wilma Seating's jumpsuit? Is that oh, that's a show. I'm not familiar with that. Do I need to visit that? You know what I've been watching? I already mentioned this. You know what I've been watching lately? This Old House. Not the originals with Bob Vila. They've got newer ones. But if you told me here, you're going to do the things they do on This Old House, I would run screaming from you. I had to do that as a kid growing up, and I hated it. But now I've found myself watching it and enjoying it. I don't know if it's because these folks are being somewhat creative and working with their hands. And I can relate to that, especially now that I've been building and painting so much stuff. It's like a kindred spirit type deal. But there's this channel you can, if you have a smart TV, there's this channel called Tubi, T-U-B as in boy, Tubi. And it's free, and you download that, and you can watch stuff. It's got commercials, but it's tolerable. And there's all these This Old House shows on it. For the love of God, I've watched that. Maybe something's wrong with me that I would do that to myself. Another guy down. Making progress. I'm gonna wash the brush. That's only 5 guys, but I haven't been trucking here. There's that glare I told you about. I'll fix in a second. That's why that rag's there. This wonderful paint rag. Because of that glare. Facts Life, remember that? I used to watch that. Hey John, how you been, buddy? Not familiar with that one. I do remember Benny Hill and some show called Bizarre. As a kid, I was still a little too young to appreciate what was being portrayed, but I found myself oddly drawn to that show, Benny Hill show. The guy's an idiot, but an entertaining idiot. He knew he was an idiot. That was the whole point. Oh, I need to check Nirvana. Should I do a live phone call? Would that be exciting? Nirvana the band? No, Nirvana the restaurant. Are they open? There's no way they're open. Do we want to take bets on this? I'm going to call them. I'm betting they're open. They're pretty hardcore folks. Hey, this is Jason. Are you open right now? Oh my goodness, I'm sorry, but it's good for me though. All right, buddy. I may see you. Bye. You say, why are you telling me your name? Because they know me by name. That's how much I go there. So when I'm done with this guy, I may cut this and go eat and then come back and resume. Yeah, I sloppy painted the jackets, got it everywhere. I based them in gray, so the trousers are good to go, although I did go over them again with a proper uniform gray coat sloppily. And now I'm using the Fine Sable Series 7 Finest Sable, Winsor & Newton, England brush to go over his little shoes. They're shoeing. Shaco pack, cartridge box, and the like. Why use fancy sable hair? Well, because it's real hair, and it lasts, and it cleans fairly easy. But you got to be careful when you clean them because it's hair, right? I just said it's hair. Like any hair, it can get all like split endy and damaged. So I actually bought. You can buy this stuff. It is called Bristle Magic Paintbrush Cleaner, and it will clean and condition. I'm not joking. I didn't know this was a thing. And you may think I'm nuts, but I'm not. You pay this much for a brush, you want it to take care of it. This cleans and conditions your brush. So this brush doesn't see soap or any harsh cleaners or anything. Nothing but the best for my sable hair. What if you can get like a sable hair weave in your head? I wonder how much that would cost. Probably $1,000. Most of the weave I see looks like somebody took yarn from a Joann's fabric store and tied it into their head. All right. Rifle strap. Thank you, sir. Is that better for you there? Now you can see the strap. You're welcome. I'm excited because the Indian place was open. He did not sound happy, that poor guy. You open? Yes. I'm sorry. I want to cram Indian food in my stomach for my last supper before the storm. Storm. And you get to see me again for the 5,000th time, so it's a win-win, right? They should be happy. Neighbor's home. He's got this gate with no wheel on it, so I hear metal scraping across concrete when he comes home. Cartridge box, rifle strap, shoe-in. Mine is shoe-in. Let's do a backpack, huh? Oh, and back to shows, and again, I mentioned this already, but it's an old British show called Time Team. I've been watching that. That's on YouTube. Tons and tons of those episodes. They're good. It's good quality stuff. Actually go digging all over England. They have 3 days to dig stuff up and find things and deduce what is actually there, what it was used for. I'm smitten. I like it. The host helps, and if I could remember his name ever just once, it would be a miracle of the ages. But it's all done, shot very well. So I recommend that. Time Team. All right, straps. Straps, then cuff and collar. Hey Lord, there was no getting these uniforms off in a hurry. So many straps and things and layers, and it's like, Jesus. I guess if you really needed to get it off, you just cut it, right? Like for hospital purposes or field surgeon purposes. Anything else? I still am curious about these weird tassel things that are coming off the shako on these guys. Again, this is the King's German Legion 2nd Battalion. Is that what I said? Light infantry. Who are, for all intents and purposes, dressed similarly to the 95th Rifles, but excepting the breeches, which are gray on these folks. Otherwise, they do look similar to the old grasshoppers. Got some crud on the paint here. I don't know what that is. It's staying though. It's getting painted into the shako. Hair or something. What is that? It's becoming immortalized in his shako. Dust. Did you know all we are is dust in the wind? Do you agree with that? Well, that's assuming there's wind. All right, I think this guy is cuffs. If these guys look a little worse for the wear, it is comes with the way I'm painting today. I'm not going nuts with this stuff. I'm just trying to get them done and on the table. All right, so I think he's done. Again, that side of the bayonet thing I was talking about. A little more definition there. All right. Under the shako, got that? Yes. What is that, about a half? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? No. If I did 2 more, that would be half, but I'm hungry. What I'm going to do is go eat and come back to this and live stream the rest of this. I'm about 90% sure I will. There's a chance I don't, but I'm in a groove today, so I'm going to cut it and come back. Let's check any last comments. I like Antique Roadshow. Yeah, I like Antique Roadshow. Happy Little Trees, yeah. Was that Bob Ross? Tattoos, yeah, majority of them have meaning. Some of them are just because they look cool. One of these days I'll go into them. And yeah, Antique Roadshows. Tony Robinson, thank you. Okay, Rob. That's good to know. Yeah. Yeah, Tony Robinson, that's his name. Yeah, he's a entertaining character. He's on some other shows too that I have yet to watch. But I don't know if it's coincidence, but in that Time Team series, once he's got, I need to cut my hair, so I shouldn't talk, but he's got like these hanging onto that last bastion of youth long hair thing. Once he cuts his hair, I think his confidence goes up and he just gets funnier. Does that make sense? I don't know. All right, guys. I'm going to go eat. When I come back, say roughly an hour, I think I'm going to resume this. It's been an astounding, smashing success with 5 viewers. I appreciate you guys watching and keeping me company. So check back in an hour-ish, and maybe we can do this some more. All right, guys.